One moment. Whew. I do not know how Darth Vader lasted all those movies in that mask. That's a little too long for me. Hello, everyone. My name is Sophia Morello. And today, before we get started, I'd like to ask you all a question. Raise your hand if you use or have social media. Yeah? Now, look around and see how many people have their hands up. Well, if you did, good on you. But when we started to measure social media use back in 2005, only 5% of individuals were using at least one of the platforms available. By 2011, the percentage had risen to half of all individuals. And today, 93.33% of the world's 4.8 billion internet users utilize social media. Society as a whole is in an era of new technology that is always evolving, making it impossible to determine if it will be good or bad in the long term, as I, unfortunately, can't foresee the future. What I'm going to share with you today is a talk about how social media has changed the world. There you go, your music segment of the day. So, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and TikTok are just a few examples of social media platforms that are available today. However, these are to blame for many people's mental illness, emotional insecurity, and time wasted. Social media has created unrealistic expectations for today's youth in body image, personality, beliefs, and more. If the definition of leadership is influence, it is clear that social media influences, but it can influence in a negative way if left unchecked. How can we lead with social media onto the light side rather than the dark side? I don't know. It has strayed so far from its original use. I've seen many people I know crumble and wither because they weren't skinny enough or cool, so they were isolated. This is why, when I was younger, I avoided social media. I wanted to live without the poisonous people who lurk in the nooks of Snapchat, or the inquisitive ones who pick apart not just your photo, but also the expression you make when you laugh. Even yet, life became strange. All of my friends at the time had social media and used it to share plans or jokes. The trouble is, I didn't know this. I was made aware of it, but since I didn't have social media, I was sent to the back of their minds. It wasn't until the following day at school that I was told they forgot to invite me, or I lived too far away to join them. Why? Why was I excluded from these outings and activities? I wondered. They said we were friends, but it wasn't feeling that way. Just because I didn't use social media or didn't know the drama that was happening online, that didn't mean we were any less friends. Who cares what Kim K did last week? Or what person at school got exposed? How did that affect our friendship? How did it affect me? I kept remembering the time when I used to go to my friend's house and knock on their door and just play. We would march to the park or make up games, or even lay in the grass, marveling at the dino-shaped clouds. My parents still laugh about how the adults in our old neighborhood called me the Pied Piper, because I would always have a group of people following me. We had fun, made up games, and everyone was happy. Funny thing is, my friends in the neighborhood had all the toys. Pools, trampolines, and those backyard playgrounds that everyone knows about. You know about them. There's always that kid. Yet, somehow they all ended up in our yard. We had a box of costumes that had an endless supply of different things, and shelves of crafting supplies. All we needed to know was how to make the most of them. During that time, I didn't have social media, yet we are all still connected. Even without social media, I still had a real influence on others. I helped others be social and still let my creativity flourish without the judgment from people I didn't even know. Now, people are more isolated than ever before. Thus, social media does not live up to its name. What impact does this have on leadership? Well, in their teenage years, personality traits crystallize, and with access to social media, they may be greatly impacted by people who may not have the highest values or beliefs. They might confuse leadership with being too bossy or take characteristics like bodily type into account. I find that people nowadays seem to be quiet, not by nature, but out of fear. Fear of judgment, fear of offending people, or just not fitting in. The point is that us as humans have the power to think, learn, communicate, and influence the world around them. It is how they use it that is the problem. If we can use social media responsibly, it can be a place where we can create meaningful relationships. We may also constitute our online identities to offer an idealized version of ourselves, which can make us feel inadequate in contrast to others. Regardless, social media is not going anywhere soon. As leaders, we need to acknowledge its power and influence and use it for good. Remember, Anakin Skywalker was always there. He just needed to be led out by his son to find his way back. Social media, I feel, has both connected and isolated people in general. While it has allowed us to interact with people all over the world, it has also made it simple to become engulfed in our own online bubble. We can spend hours scrolling on our feeds instead of connecting with people around us, gazing at the lives of others instead of our own. I moved to Alberta a few years ago, leaving behind one of my best friends. I was fortunate to reconnect with her through social media. Without it, I would have simply lost touch. I wouldn't have been able to connect with her and now many others. Social media also provides a platform for people to share their thoughts and ideas. This can be beneficial to people who are passionate about a particular topic, business, or cause. By sharing on social media, they can reach a larger audience and potentially inspire others to get involved. An example of this would be a business we were introduced to in Leadership Academy this year, Local Laundry. They often use their social media platforms to create positive change. One of their quotes is, "But clothes are just the beginning. Our community is the heart of our story." They will often post series of stories and of individuals or organizations making a difference in their community. I think that says a lot about who they are as a company. Now, you might be wondering why I used Star Wars for my presentation. Well, Star Wars is a great representation of the concept of good versus evil. The Jedi and the Sith are two opposing forces that represent the light and the dark sides of the Force. The Jedi are the protectors of peace and justice in the galaxy, while the Sith are the embodiment of evil and seek to dominate and control everything around them. The struggle between the two is a constant theme throughout the series, and is ultimately up to each individual to choose which side they align with. The story of Star Wars is not clear-cut between good and evil. People are capable of redemption, even after committing terrible acts. Social media is both fun and creative, but can also be corruptive and unrealistic. In conclusion, social media has both isolated and allowed people to communicate in general. These people may not always be bad, but they may not be led in the right direction. It is up to us in how we use social media that will change the world and social media as a total. And remember, in the end, we found out that Darth Vader was not actually the bad guy. He was just misled by a different force. I wanted to check this out because it's cool. But thank you, everyone, for listening to my story today, and have a great day.